What we live in, back and forth through the kitchen. Seems so far away, distant in the tree. All right, welcome. Season 2, episode 12 of the long-awaited TNZ, the neutral zone. So back by popular demand, we are here today with a very, very special guest, one who's been here through thick and thin throughout our journey, supported us as we started out this very famous podcast. We have Frank Klein with Stomps and I this evening with some very big updates, huge updates. However, before we get started, we wanted to talk about, and I'm not calling you old Stomps, but talk a little bit about the old, and then we'll get into what's coming up with Frank. But lots of questions. I got a few of them on Sunday in terms of when are we going to start the podcast back up. We've had a couple of hiccups in our production. Some of our crew resigned, and we had to pick up some new people to support us. These guys are a lot more reliable. We also got a new extension on Fox, thanks to Stomps, with the contract deal. Anyway, Stomps, you want to tell everyone what's been going on in the hockey circuit?
I appreciate everybody saying, where's the show? Bring it back, bring it back. Where have you been? I've accomplished all there is to accomplish as a broadcaster. So I wasn't in any hurry to do another one of these. It gets tiresome kissing everybody's backside all the time. So this is just going to be more of an angry approach to this show, but I don't know I don't even know where we left off. I mean, a lot of things have happened. Let's think about it. Well, we had the first successful NBHL season, right, Frank?
I think for a first season, I was happy with it.
Yeah, so the Southsiders ended up going out east to play in the tournament. I think they lost in the playoffs, I believe, 3-2. So we were trying to watch that. They were streaming it, but the stream was questionable. They had one of the rinks covered very nicely, and the other ones you couldn't really get too much. So didn't get to see a lot of that. Wanted to see more of it. We had a lot of fun in Iowa, didn't we, Frank? That was a fun tournament. The Quad Cities deck tournament. Just hanging out under the tent and playing some games on the small surface, and our team getting mercilessly booed out of town in the playoff game that night. That was pretty interesting. There was a lot of good hockey and just good to see a lot of people, families out there. Definitely want to go back to that, aren't we?
That was
Are we not? Yeah, that was fun. They just ramped up the fall session at Glencoe. So I played a full session there. I like playing there. I mean, it's a long ass way for me to go and get there. But it's fun. Scully does a great job running it. I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, there's some problems with the floor. There were about 3 weeks in a row where it was a little dicey out there. But, when the floor is good, it's fun stuff. I mean, it's a different game for sure. On the small surface. Woodridge is still ongoing. Thanks to those guys for making it, continue on. I mean, the early game is popular. The second game, it's hard to get people. Chris Sheets told me he thinks there's fatigue within our hockey community, that some people are getting a little burnt out a bit because there's been a lot of hockey opportunities. Maybe. It's hard to say. What do you guys think?
I don't think there's too many. I don't think you can ever have too much. What do you think, Frank?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's plenty. And I think it's because we keep relying on the same handful of people to participate in all these different opportunities. And, it's one of my goals has always been to get more people involved so that we don't have to rely on the same people every time you need a game or a practice or a scrimmage or anything like that. But yeah, I definitely was burnt out on it. I took off about 2.5 months. I didn't play. I didn't really do much of anything. I did run my tournament in October, but other than that, I took a much needed break. And so I had that fatigue. I know what he's talking about, but now I'm ready to get back into it. I'm fired up.
Hey, speaking of fatigue, I just have a question. I wanted to congratulate you, Stomps. I understand you got the booster shot.
Okay. You're bringing back the, what was that called? The vaccine zone or?
No,
what was
no,
that?
I just, can you tell us about that? Like, what was your experience?
Well, I was dumb enough to have a booster shot the same day I had my flu shot, and the next day I was done.
Oh, wow.
I was in bad shape, but just for a day. So I don't necessarily recommend doing that. I just wanted to get them both out of the way, and that was convenient. So, but getting back to hockey, Palatine, we just wrapped up a Monday session. The red team, Ronnie Kaletta's team, won. Congrats to them. They've put together a nice team of, some young guys with the old Canadians, veterans. It's a good job by them. And Wednesday's winding down, right? We've got Jer Bears versus the Foxhounds, right? That's Jer Bears, aka the Southsiders. So that's going to be the championship game. What I want to ask you, Nav, is last night I had to send you to the sin bin for 2 minutes. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts were that guy had a breakaway and there was no way that I was going to catch him. And I took the penalty knowing that we would kill the power play. So I think it was a good penalty. I didn't dispute the call in any way. As a matter of fact, I stay away from disputing any calls now because the week prior, all I said was that was a shit call and I got ejected from the game. Can you make any comments based on that decision?
Well, there's no tolerance but I think as a ref, you gotta have good judgment. I'm not going to be sitting there throwing people out because they're complaining about calls. That's ridiculous. I'll be like that guy that threw the Bears game for them Monday night with his
Oh, don't bring that up again.
that phantom taunting call. But no, it was a good penalty, Nav. Some of the guys said, "Oh, it should have been a penalty shot." I disagreed because he wasn't in the clear, and David Wagner agrees with me. So that's all I need. That seal of approval there.
And David Wagner, for sure. He's spiritually connected, for sure.
So yeah, so there's been a lot going on, so everybody's having a good time. This is a transition time because the outdoor stuff is going to end. I mean, the Woodridge, is just subject to weather.
It may snow this week, right? I think there's a chance of snow this weekend. So
Saturday night and the Sunday morning, that'll kill that if that happens. So now we get sent back indoors and we've got Palatine to hang our hats on, and we'll see. I think Carroll Stream's going to come back. I know our team's interested in getting back in there. So you take the opportunities as they come.
Do you think Dante is interested in Carroll Stream?
Well, he played with us. I haven't seen Dante since just prior to his trip to Italy.
I heard he's got a knee. Is that true?
He's got an arthritic knee that's given him a lot of trouble.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is true. What about your knee, Frank? I'm pretty observant. You're kind of almost playing on one leg.
Yeah, it's it is what it is. It's an old busted up knee, and I do what I can with it. My biggest thing is I just don't want any pain. So I don't mind if I'm not as quick or mobile as I used to be, as long as it's comfortable. And that's my priority. And yeah, so like played last night, it felt good. May not have looked good, but it felt okay.
I heard that they're not going to start the Wednesday session until the new year. Does that sound right?
Yeah, they're gonna take a break. A couple of the teams were having a hard time filling their rosters. Plus, with the holidays, that doesn't make it easier. So we're gonna start up in January, and then I already talked to Nick. I'm gonna be using the time on Wednesdays to run some things for the gentlemen's club and for scrimmages, and just hopefully, just for the guys who do want to keep playing, they can keep coming out. It's also a good time, like you said, if some of the guys are having a fatigue, that might be a good time to kind of step away and take a little break and come back ready to go in January.
Very good. Very good. With that said, why don't we move over to Frank? And Frank, I know you have some exciting updates for the hockey community in Chicago. And why don't you share some of those? And Stomps and I, on behalf of the community, will try to pepper some questions along the way. Hopefully you can answer some of them. And if not, then take it back to your management team and get back to us. But we want to hear from you.
Yeah, so this is the kind of time of year where I'm working on a couple of different things. The big one, believe it or not, is the NBHL. So we wrapped that season up this past August. And like Stomp said, the Southsiders team, they won our inaugural season and represented Chicago in the Milek Cup. They did pretty well. But this league is meant to be a little bit different than what we're used to. Most of our leagues are very recreational, more for fun, having a good time. This is meant to be more competitive. And some more things are involved with that that I'll get into in a minute. But that league will start up in April, and unlike the other leagues that run all year round, this one just is once a year. And so we'll have our second season starting in April, and this year we will be playing in Palatine. The rink out at Kennedy Park served its purpose for the first year, but being able to move to an indoor facility with all the bells and whistles, things you might take for advantage, like scoreboards and benches, things you don't really think about. But we didn't have that in the first season. We'll have that in the second season.
And you still got that slot? It's a Sunday?
It'll be on Saturdays.
Saturday.
We're still have to work around the actual timing of it, because he's got a lot of things going on, but we will be there starting next year.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so now is actually the time, it's kind of a different model. It's really a franchise model. So really, the NBHL, the league, is the structure in which we all play, but it's really about the teams. And so, if you think about, if you like hockey, you're not a fan of the NHL, you're a fan of your team. You like the Blackhawks or the Leafs or whatever, same thing in baseball. You're a Cubs fan, you're a Sox fan, you're not an MLB fan. So the league structure is there, to help facilitate it, but it's really about the teams themselves. And so that's kind of like the big push that I'm going to be making over the next couple years, is really trying to help people build teams. Having your core group of people, your leadership in place, and doing that really gets people involved and committed to making the sport better and growing the sport for everybody. So we just had 4 teams to start off this past season, but we should be at minimum of 6 next year, and then as it goes on, it's going to take a couple of years before it really explodes, but I think it's going to get there.
Do you think like teams like the Dolphins, because the Dolphins aren't they South Side area guys?
Yeah, so their rebranding is the Hornets.
Do you think moving to Palatine is going to impact them coming up to play? Or
No, I think they're going to be okay. I mean, it's the location was good for them, but as we dealt with hot weather, rainouts, slick floors, some of the limitations that we had. It was for the first season, it was fine, but it's really meant to be the kind of the elite program in our area. So you need the best facility. And I think they're on board with that.
Right.
But they really have the right idea because, Wade, Bittner and a couple of the other guys, I mean, they're committed to being part of something and, finding people to be part of their program, keeping this thing going, participating in the tournaments and the leagues. And I mean, that's just absolutely great for our sport. We need more and more guys like that to make this
Right.
thing work for everybody.
I think the move to Palatine might make it easier for you to fill those last two slots too. You might get some other teams that are in the north end that would want to play.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And it's we can only, improve kind of incrementally, a little bit at a time. And so by year 2, 3, 4, this thing is really going to take off. And I'm impressed with the model that they put together. And I think it really has potential to be something that, everybody wants to be a part of, but it takes time. And with only one season a year, you can only, move so quickly. For example, like Stomps was a ref and he did a great job and the guys did a great job, but it was their first time reffing. And so, I'm pushing now to get more and more refs. I want to have a whole group of referees that are all properly trained, certified, all working with the same rule book. And then as we move on in time, we're going to have a head referee who's kind of responsible for making sure that they're kind of up to speed. If there's any points of interest or things that they need to work on, they can talk about that. So, I mean, something as small but as critical as our officiating in the next couple of years is going to be so much better. I mean, like, Stomps and Brill, I mean, everyone said how great they did, and they're just rookies at it right now. And so as they get better, as the rest of the guys get better, and everyone's doing the same thing, I mean, it's going to make for a better product, a better game. And there's a lot of little things like that this league thinks about, kind of covers all aspects of the game.
Speaking of refs, the rumor has it our good friend, Mr. Brian Ganutek, is throwing his hat in the ring and is supposedly taking the training this weekend.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you might be perfect for it.
He might be.
Yeah. But I mean, for how long,
Really?
we just kind of had whatever refs that they could find, and they were playing by whatever rules they were comfortable with, and I mean, I can tell you just from the first season of the NBHL that like our guys, Stomps and Sabatini, Lou, and those guys, they took it way more seriously and they cared more about the officiating part of the game than I probably in any game that I've played in all my years of playing. And I mean, I think it made a difference.
Do you think that had a lot to do with the fact that they were part of the community as players and
Yeah,
they cared?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I agree. That's pretty exciting stuff, Frank. Congratulations on that good start to the NBHL. And whatever we can do on the neutral zone to promote that, we'll do.
Yeah, so I was actually talking to Stevie J last night, and we're going to be putting together like, a lot of perks, a lot of not marketing, but like social media stuff,
Yep.
interviews and pregame and postgame, and player and team profiles and this kind of like fun stuff.
That's cool.
We talked about getting you guys involved, like really, kind of being the gravitas of the media, if you will. Trying to bring this whole kind of fun element to the game that, when you talk about the fatigue, like, all right, well, you play, but wait a minute, there's these cool things that I'm seeing on social media or Facebook or, what did that team do? Or what did that guy say? I mean, like, I think we can bring a whole level of just kind of fun and entertainment to the game
Sure.
that helps like re-energize you and just make it, like, I think more fun, you know?
Sounds good to us. I mean, anything to start some rumors and,
Yeah.
feed the mill and talk about Brian Ganutek, you know, we're all about that. Um, Good stuff. Have you thought about the other two teams? Do you have any ones who've shown an interest?
So, well, I have 5 teams locked in right now. And then, we get some feedback and some interest, like through the NBHL league level, that I follow up on. So there's a couple other, teams that I'm following up on. But I may just do like a house team. Because there's a lot of people out there who want to play who don't have a home. And yeah, I mean, their team is probably going to be in last place, but it's on me to still make it well worth it and fun, and just, for those guys to be a part of it. So that's something we're looking at. So, I'm optimistic that we're going to get to a 6th team for this year.
Sure.
And then, as we improve, as we kind of iron out some of these things, and then we really ramp up like I said, the entertainment or the marketing, so to speak, part of it, I think that's going to make it, attractive to a lot more people. That's the model anyway. It's working out elsewhere. I mean, they're starting a 3rd division in New Jersey. I think another one in Massachusetts. They're opening up a division in Orlando, St. Louis, and Detroit, maybe.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of excitement for this league in a lot of places and a lot of markets. And, we got to generate that here. And I'm optimistic that it's going to happen.
That's excellent.
What about the Foxhounds getting a team in?
Well, they're in a spot where they, obviously I'd love to have those guys. I mean, that would be, right there, a great team, a great fit. But I don't, it's hard getting a full squad and getting guys to commit, that's a big part of it. Like, people have real lives, if you got your kids' soccer games on Saturday, you can't play, and that's the kind of thing we just need to keep bringing on more and more people on board.
Maybe the change in location would be a factor in getting that, perhaps.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, like, and we did that league, we videoed the games, we uploaded them to YouTube, but there were actually 2 weeks where they brought out the professional crew, and they did play-by-play, with some instant replay. They had a color man and an analyst doing our games, and in 25 plus years of playing ball hockey, I've never had that. You know what I mean? So to be in our league, our local league, with a professional broadcast and analysts and that kind of thing, like, how cool is that? I mean, where else do you get something like that? I mean,
that is pretty cool.
For our little recreational dollar, to for a week be treated like, like real athletes is, I mean, come on, that's good stuff.
People like that kind of stuff. As much as they don't want to admit it, they love that. They love it when their names are being called out in a good way, of course. Yeah.
They were, I mean, everyone was talking about it for a week. Did you see that? Or you see what that guy said? I mean, like, yeah, I mean, when do we get that treatment? It's pretty cool.
Was.
Yeah. The only area that I disagree with you on is people have real lives. Like, I question that.
Wait a minute. I assume that's why the TNZ was on hiatus. It was real lives got in the way.
No. This is our real life right here.
All right.
All the other stuff is gravy. Okay, good. Well, listen, we're looking forward to that. What do you want to lean into next, the tournament or the gentleman's club?
Yeah, I mean, I'll do the tournament kind of quick. I mean, everyone knows what that's all about. So this is the 6th time doing it. We did one in January or in October. That we had our first women's division, so that was really cool. But yeah, so it's this upcoming one. It's in January. It's Martin Luther King weekend. I'm reformatting a little bit. Normally I have 3 divisions. I have like the open and the 2 recs. And it just becomes, it's really just too much from scheduling, from a whole lot of logistical reasons. And it's just too much for me. So I'm cleaning it up. There's just going to be 2 divisions, an upper and a lower. So it's basically an open and a rec division. Our rec division is already sold out. You know, I have teams on the wait list. So, and then our open division, you know, we're getting some good interest. You know, we got a new team coming from Boston this year. Assume the Timberwolves will be out. We got 2 local teams, and you know, got some lines out there for a few more. So
And
but it'll
Frank,
be a good time.
what's the date of it again, Frank? January what?
14th, 15th, 16th, whatever that weekend is.
Okay, all right.
And then I had thrown out earlier, and I'm going to follow up soon to see if the interest is still there, the night before to do a big outing to a Blackhawks game. As a way for us, you know, like just before the tournament, like anybody who's got the night off, who just wants to go out and have some fun and, you know, watch a game and like, you know, start maybe chewing the fat and
Sure.
throwing down what they're going to do over the next weekend, you know. So I'm going to get that information.
Do you think you might have more interest in the Chicago Wolves, just given everything going on with the Blackhawks these
Yeah,
days?
you're not kidding. We'll see. That's why I say it's not a done deal. Let's see where the interest lies.
I think that's great. I think it's great. I heard some rumblings that, well, you'll get to the Masters thing in a second, but I heard some rumblings about, well, actually not rumblings. You'd sent out some new rules this year about players playing across 2 divisions. Do you want to tell people a little bit about that?
This is for the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the past, what I said was a rec team can have 2 open players. And that was kind of how I monitor it. And then I might say, well, you know, like depending on how it'd be, I might move it to 3.
Sure.
But then you could have the 5 best players could say, well, I'm not going to play in the open. I'll play in the rec instead. So it worked for a while. But I wanted to tighten it up a little bit. You know, when we went to Iowa, I mean, they have really strict rostering rules. The NBA is coming up with strict rostering rules. You know, the major tournaments are putting more and more rules in place to try and keep it fair. And it isn't, you know, it's not easy because, you know, a lot of our guys don't show up on the radar. How do we rank them? So I'm just trying to establish a system based on what's already out there, kind of what I know and what makes sense to me, so that the captains can understand, all right, well, I can have these 2 guys or these 4 guys, just to kind of depending on the ranking. I can have these number of guys on a rec team. And my initial thought was I had put a list of maybe like the strongest dozen or 15 players, and I gave them such a high score that they wouldn't be allowed in the rec at all.
Yeah. And that's Stomps and I, right?
Yeah, you guys were number 1, number 2. But then I got some pushback, you know, like, hey, I want this guy, I want that guy. And so I thought about it and I kind of reworked it in a way that I still think makes sense, so that, you know, you can have one of those guys and, you know, maybe 1 or 2 other decent players. But the idea is really that the rec is meant to be rec. You know, I don't want a team, you know, getting their like 9 or 10 buddies and then just going out trying to find some ringers who are going to play the whole time and win it. I mean, that's not the point. I mean, the idea is bring your team and, you know, compete with what you got.
Sure. I think that's fair. I think that's a good approach.
And it's not going to be perfect, you know, I mean, but I'm doing the best I can, you know, like based on my experience and what I know, the different players and the teams and what I think should work for everybody.
You know,
Go ahead, Stomps.
well, I just want to go back to the October tournament because I roughed a lot of that, and I thought the hockey was excellent across the board. So, how do you make the January tournament similar? What do you have to do anything differently? I mean, I'm not understanding like the difference in the 2 tournaments, I guess, how they were structured.
So what I normally do when I'm doing again in January is you set up the divisions to start the tournament. And so you're in the rec or you're in the open, and then you compete against those teams over the course of the weekend to win.
Right.
For October, because I wasn't sure what I was going to get and I had a fewer spots, I started all the teams in one bracket, in one division. And then after pool play, then we split them up.
That's right.
So the top teams moved up to the top bracket and the bottom teams moved to the lower bracket. And then they competed that way. So again, I mean, there were still 2 divisions, but it kind of, we had it so it worked its way out through the pool play.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Do you think the tournament might be a good place to start checking out some of those ideas you had about the reffing, the referees, having a head referee, and maybe that would be a great way for you to pilot that experiment.
Well, that's something I'm going to actually, like in December, I'm going to be working on, because I know a handful of guys are, like you say, GNU Tech and some other guys are getting their referee certification. So we'll have, at that point, maybe 8 or 9 certified. I'd like to get to 15 or more. And then, they can do our league games. They'll do certainly the NBHL games and my tournament. And then, like eventually that would be kind of its own little group, like, so they can work together, like to manage through their own issues and make sure everyone, like, they should be like a team almost, like, even if they're playing in other teams, but as referees, like we want guys who are committed and care and who are willing to take a little bit of time from time to time to, maybe meet up every couple of months and say, hey, these are the things we, want to focus on. And if there's one guy in charge, like he can be in charge of scheduling. So it'll just make it easier and I think a better game all around.
What are you
I
gonna
think
do?
we have to cap. Oh, sorry, Nib. I just wanted to say, I think we have to cap the number of officials because that's going to cut into my bank account.
There's always unemployment insurance. It's being used a lot in this country lately. How about if all those refs come together and they make their own team? And then do they just ref their own games?
Yeah, they could never lose.
This is exciting stuff, Frank. Very exciting. Gentlemen's Club.
Yeah, so we haven't really done much since the tournament. Back in, what was that, April? Like we did all the practices and scrimmages, and we put so much in, over last winter to getting ready for that. And then I had things going on with the NBHL and other things, so I kind of put that on the back burner. We had a gentlemen's club team that went to Iowa, and Joe Gleason had a gentlemen's club team out in Glencoe, and so I mean, there's still stuff going on here and there, but nothing like really as a group organized. And so once we get to December here on these Wednesday nights, I'm gonna like reboot that and try and get our guys all back together, scrimmaging, having some fun, just kind of reconnecting in that format, like the gentlemen's club format. And then, the plan is to do 2 tournaments next year. So it'll be the same one, the Nationals in Philly. And then again, that's like in April, this second week. And then in September, there's a new tournament in Key West. And it's not a Masters tournament per se, it's like a rec novice, but I think that would be a perfect spot for our guys to go out, play some hockey, have some fun, and just enjoy that whole scene.
I heard a rumor that some guys were taking a team to a tournament coming up in Iowa under the name the Gentlemen's Club.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing there could be a lawsuit in the making. Can you speak to that?
It's yeah, they actually so Scott LeClaire is playing on that team, and he asked me about it. Like, he's like, is this okay? And I said, yeah, listen, I mean, that's part of the deal, I mean, like, the idea was that we could make connections and make friends and find more opportunities to play. And so that's great. And I mean, we paid for the uniforms, so might as well get the use out of them. My big thing was like, I think, and you guys are members of the club, like we want it to be held to a certain classy standard, like So as long as they go out there and they conduct themselves, I have no problem with it. What I don't want is, like if they get mad and they burn the place down or something, I don't know. And then the next time we go to a tournament, people look at us like we're jerks. That's the one thing I want to avoid, but I don't think there's going to be a problem. So I'm cool with it.
That's great. That's really good. Hey, I got some questions for you, Frank.
Okay.
By the way, we're going on 42 minutes.
Yeah, that's
Go
right.
ahead.
It's
Go ahead,
okay.
man.
It's okay. We're going over because we
I kept
started.
talking.
I'm just getting warmed up. First one, I'm going to throw a softball at you.
Okay.
What does the future hold for Freddy Kaletta?
Freddy, it's whatever he wants. He jumped back into it last winter with the Gentlemen's Club. It was great to see him come out. But he's got that work schedule, and I don't know if you follow the police department. I mean, they've had some crazy schedules they put those guys through over the last year, and that interferes with his ability to play. And he's been banged up. He's got a kid, so it's we talk about real life getting in the way sometimes. But yeah, I mean, like obviously, I'd like to have him out as much as possible, but I get it.
Yeah, we haven't seen.
I question his commitment. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nat.
Yeah, he should be committed. You're right.
Exactly.
The next question I have for you, and I think it's the best question for a guy like you, is around goalies. And I know how much you love the position and respect the position. So I wanted to ask you, it's a two-part question. Currently, who is the best goalie in the Chicago ball hockey world? And secondly, who is the best upcoming goalie in the Chicago ball hockey world?
I'll answer the second one first. That's a little bit easier. So there's really two up and comers that I would say are at the top, and one would be Rocco Giampietro, who was on your show, I think.
Yep.
And then another guy who kind of comes and goes with school, but that's Troy. Obviously, he's a great young talent. So those are when you talk about young guys and guys that if part of it is commitment and how much they're interested in doing it. It certainly seems like Rocco is committed. So I mean, that'll be great to see over the next few years. As far as the best goalie going right now, I mean, sadly, I probably have to give Billy the nod just because he led the Southsiders in that tournament in October. And if you saw it, the guy, he was phenomenal. I mean, the teams that he played, they played a Timberwolves team that had some legit A players on there, and he beat them in a shootout. And so, it kills me to say it, but, he's not young, and he can't do all the things he used to, and he can't do it, as much, but when he's on his game, he's still excellent. And,
No, that's
Yeah, well, I agree. Well, I'm sorry. We keep talking over it. We're
go
out
ahead.
of practice here.
It's you, Stomps.
I do have to go back to Rocco, though, because the guy's phenomenal. I mean, he shows up well before the games and goes into like almost like a Tai Chi, some type of stretching regimen that he goes through, which is pretty amazing. And then, when I was roughing his game last night, and I'm right on the goal line by the net, and he made a couple of saves that, I mean, I'm sitting there reffing, so I'm not supposed to say anything, right? But I'm getting excited watching this save. I almost like went, "Holy shit!" I mean, it was that good, that good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, listen, I both of you guys, you talk highly of Rocco, you talk highly of Troy Dante and Billy Jacques, but none of those three goalies can make custom-made mouth guards.
But I was going to just say that
I got mine coming.
Don't discount Art, because he's played a lot, and he's played very well, noticeably well the last, I don't know, 4 to 6 months. Really good.
There's a big question about his sound effects. Are they?
I'll give you another name, Kevin Contreras. And that,
Yeah, big victory for him.
he had a big, I mean, I looked at we were firing him on him the whole night and we got out to a lead, but then he shut us down in that Glencoe league. We had 50 shots on net and we just, we got a few passed early, but then he shut us down. And I played with him a few years ago out in Oak Lawn, and he's come a long way. So he's a big kid. I mean, he uses his body well.
You got Chris Hayes really been working hard.
Yeah, I like to see one of the guys really kind of get excited and work at it.
Yeah. He wants to play, like every weekend he wants to play at Woodridge, even though they have a rotation of goalies. He's trying to shoehorn himself in there every single week.
I noticed Billy Jacques is trying to get back into Woodridge.
Yeah.
He's
played 2 weeks ago, I think.
He's in on the 8 a.m. game.
Yeah.
There's 3 goalies. Does that mean one is going to be a backup?
Well, one's got a shovel.
Yeah.
Well, this was great. So, we got some really important answers to some of my, critical questions. Good to hear about the NBHL starting up in April again in Palatine, a move from 4 to 6 teams. So for those of you who are listening, Frank seems to have that under control. Frank, what would be really awesome is a Chicago Ball Hockey Hall of Fame. You can have a Hall of Fame night. Just think about it. There's a bunch of guys who probably should be in the Hall of Fame who are still playing. But we could have a Hall of Fame. What do you think? You got enough guys that you could induct every year into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I like it. We'll have to think about that. They do something like that out in New Jersey.
Do they? I think that would be fun. That's something we should put on our list here. In terms of the tournament, January 14th, 15th, 16th, around that time, everybody, 2 divisions open in rec. They're filling up. I think you said the rec division is filled up, and you have some.
Yeah, we're already into the wait list. So.
Okay. And what about individual players if they want to play and they don't have a team? You got any messages for those guys?
Well, what they can, we don't have, I mean, it's really up to the captains to build their teams.
Sure.
So what I'll do is out, and this happens every tournament. People will reach out to me and say they want to, join a team. And then I'll just reach out to the captains, every few weeks and say, hey, I've got some people, let me know if you want them. But, the best way is to obviously find a team, and schmooze their captain. That's the best way to get on buy them a lunch or something. That's the best way to get on a team.
Right. On behalf of the neutral zone, we wish Brian Ganutek the best in his reffing pursuits. Does he have to write a written exam?
Yeah, who's going to take the test for him?
My thoughts precisely. Good stuff, Frank. We are always happy to have you on the show. Stomps, do you want to say anything to the community in terms of when we're going to do another episode? Because it all hinges on you.
TBD. But, before we go, I just want to show you something. So, as I'm interacting here with Frank, if you can see this.
Maybe well, you got the background. It's going to be hard.
Oh, man.
Take your background off.
Good. Let's turn off the background. Let's see if you can see this.
Yeah, there you go. You're good. Now you can show it.
All right. I just feel like, can you see that?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Hang on. I think Frank looks very much like a Phil Esposito. Very much reminds me of Phil.
Does he?
Yes.
I'll take it.
I always thought Frank looked like Patrice Bergeron.
I'll take that too.
Both handsome
I always wanted to be
Bruins.
No, this was a great comeback episode for us, special edition of the Neutral Zone. As always, we ask you to share the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once we get enough viewers, we can start doing live broadcasts. Frank, I hope you're going to save 2 seats for us at the tournament so we can have a broadcast booth.
Well, we are. We got some big plans. So, and I'm hoping to have you guys included.
For sure. We'd always love to be part of it. All right, fans, loved ones, thanks for tuning in. You've watched TNZ Season 2, Episode 12, Special Edition with special guest Frank Klein giving us an update on some very big events coming up in the Chicago ball hockey community. So with that said, good night, stay safe, and get your booster shot.